get started. Welcome, everybody. I'm Garland Colson, known as Captain Time. I am a time management author, speaker, and coach, and I've been doing this for over 20 years. And the topic today is study time tips for students. I've kind of expanded it into student time tips. So it'll be things relating to students and study and those kinds of things. I will be recording this session, so please subscribe to my YouTube channel, and then you can share this video with anybody else you know who might need this. And the reason why I've got so many good ways to be able to use your time better when you're a student is because I was a very bad student. So I learned the hard way. So when I was in school, I was fortunate that I was fairly bright, and I did listen well to the teachers, and so it came fairly easily to me. The problem was I didn't develop any good study habits. So when I graduated from high school and started to take college and university level courses, I was woefully unprepared. I had bad study habits. I would do assignments at the last minute, scrambling to get things done. The level of focus was much deeper than I had ever needed before, because before, as long as you read the book and did the exercises and listened in class, you could skate through. And so that's the problem, is I was skating through instead of really being fully focused. So let's get started. So one of the first things is to have a plan, not just, I should do something. So whenever I work in a day, I never ever have to decide what to do next, because I always have my time blocks of time set aside. I know when it's time for research. I know when it's time for writing. And so similarly for students, you can have a set block of time aside to be working on the assignments, to know when your assignments are coming due, to be able to move between your course materials. So it's really critical that you start off by having a plan in place rather than just, oh crap, I got to do all these things. Which do I do first? Because that trying to decide wastes time. You might spend the first 15 to 20 minutes of your study cycle, trying to figure out what to work on instead of just diving in and doing it. So because I have my plan already in place, no matter what topic I have to study or research or write on, I just dive right in. Oh, it's time to write that article, or it's time to write that book. I just dive right in and start writing. Now, the other trick is to realize your energy is limited. You only have so much, and it draws down the more you do. You only have so much energy, and you only have so much discipline as well. And discipline is something that many people just struggle because they feel they're not disciplined. The truth is, we all have some discipline, but we only have so much. So, when you're highly disciplined, maybe first thing in the morning, high energy, that's when you want to work on the most difficult, hardest things, and then save the easier work till later on. One example is emails. For me are quite easy, and I do those every day in the workplace. And I do my email later in the afternoon because it's easy stuff to do. First thing in the morning is when I have to do the number crunching, the heavy writing, the heavy learning, the heavy understanding, and that's when I dive in and do that. So, and this is different for some people. Some people tell me they're night owls, and they focus best in the evening or even at night, and that's fine. Work with that, set up times, to make that work, and then you can go ahead. You want to have separate study and recreation and social and recreation times, and keep them separate. You don't want them to overlap. Too often we end up playing or socializing or talking or doing anything but the study when we're supposed to be studying. And so essentially we kind of give up that study time. So you want to make sure that when your study time is there, you do nothing but the study. You want to be ruthless with yourself, ruthless with your friends about this. Take that time, keep it sacred, let nothing break into that time. Let nothing interrupt that time, no matter what. And similarly, having a set time for your breaks, for social and recreation times, means you're not feeling like you're doing nothing but studying or nothing but school. Having, a set time of the week that you go out with friends, maybe on a Friday night, gives you a break from the studying and keeping it separate. But if you're taking break times and social times when you should be studying, you're beating yourself up for not doing the study stuff, for not doing the assignment stuff. So you're not even really fully getting a break from the study stuff. Now let's talk about creating focus for students. And focus is something all of us are really struggling with. Some studies are estimating that we now have a focus period of about the same level as a goldfish, that a goldfish manages to focus for longer on things than we do. So one of the first things that can help you focus is to have a designated study space. This is the space where you go into when you study, and that you know that's all it's for. It could be an isolated nook in your bedroom. It could be a certain area in your home. It could be your backyard if the weather's nice, where you take the laptop out and do this. It could be a park, a coffee shop, or a library. It needs to be somewhere where you feel comfortable and you're free from disturbances. And that's key, free from disturbances. And many people's homes are not that way. If you live with other people, your home, you might get interrupted continuously. And that's when it can make sense to go out and park yourself in a library or coffee shop. A little bit tougher right now with the pandemic because seating might be limited, but look for a place where you can do the study that you need, where you can be quiet, and not be disturbed and not be interrupted. And if you are at home and you're getting interrupted, talk to your roommates or your family and say, I'm going to be studying for the next hour, putting a sign up in the door, can nobody interrupt me for 1 hour? Just get people used to, I just need 1 hour uninterrupted time, get people used to not interrupting you during that time. And if they don't listen, then escape, leave, find the library, find a coffee shop, find another place to go. You can also set a timer for your study sessions. Set a focus timer for perhaps 30 minutes at a time. Set a timer for 30 minutes. Then take a break. So for example, I often use a timer just on my smartphone here. This is the stock one that came with my Android phone, and I've got it preset for 30 minutes. So for 30 minutes, that reminds me to do nothing but study. That means no funny cat videos on YouTube, no texting, no nothing other than study. That gives me a full 30-minute focus. And you'll be amazed at what you can get done in 30 minutes of focused time when you're not interrupted, when you're working on a high priority task, or you're working on something you need to study, or high priority assignment. Then at 30 minutes, take a 5-minute stretch break, just move around a bit, set the timer for another 30 minutes and go back to it. And I find that this really helps keep you focused, because when that timer is running, that nothing else is supposed to be happening. You're not supposed to be watching YouTube, watching TV, doing anything else. This is sometimes called the Pomodoro technique, after a kitchen timer that the fellow who was talking about looked like a tomato. Pomodoro is Italian for tomato, so it was like a timer that you would just turn. Kitchen timer will work for this as well if you don't want your smartphone on during sessions, which can be a good idea, but just have a way to set a timer to work with this. Put your smartphone away. I know, especially for many young people right now, that's really tough. Turn it off entirely, okay? Or set it to airport mode, one or the other. You should not be getting texts or beeps or notifications or phone calls or anything while you are studying. When your focus is broken, it can take you 20 to 30 minutes to get back to the same level of thinking that was working before you got interrupted. So that means every time you get one text, 30 minutes wasted, 30 minutes of focus wasted. So this is insidious. So we need to be turning off all these notifications, and during your peak focus sessions, put it away. If your friends or family cannot handle that you can't contact them for 1 hour, well, it's time for new friends and maybe new family. But they need to understand that your focus on your education is important, and that you won't, may not answer for an hour or two, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. You're not going to miss anything urgent by being out of touch or disconnected for an hour or two. Music. A lot of people like to listen to music. The problem is a lot of music isn't that conducive to studying. So music has been shown, it can calm you down, which can let you to be more productive, can elevate your mood, motivate you to study longer. So when you're studying, you want to choose music that does not have voice to it, because otherwise you start listening to the word. Find yourself tapping your foot, bebopping to the beat, then it's the wrong music, because the music is pulling your focus away from what you're supposed to be working on. So choose instrumental music, music without voice, classical music, Mozart music, ambient instrumental music, perhaps nature sounds. Consider making a playlist that is 30 minutes long to work with that 30-minute technique, and then take a break when the playlist ends, and then start with a new one. The standard music that you love, no matter what it is probably not your study music, because it will pull you in. Okay, so no matter how good the music is, no matter how much you love it, this is not the time to listen to it. You listen to your other music when you're out with your friends, when you need to relax, like that's for your break time. We talked about taking a scheduled break, maybe after 30 or 45 minutes of work, stretching, which really helps. But it also helps if you get active at lunch or in the evenings. I go for a walk every lunch for 20 minutes, a brisk walk. And I find that I can tackle my afternoon. It re-energizes me for the afternoon. And I do this winters, snow, sleet, no, it doesn't matter what is out there. Like the mailman, I'm out in all weather. I just dress for it, and I find it really reconnects. I'm taking a walk on a brisk winter day, coming back in, the cold wakes you up. So it helps a lot. Wakes you up better than coffee or caffeinated drinks will. And getting outside in nature gives you that break as well, that it lets you be out there. Another cool thing about walks is I often find the problem that I've been working on, my mental back burner works and feeds me up the solution during my walk. So walking becomes thinking time, deep thinking time. And so I always carry my smartphone with me on my walk so that I can take notes or add to my to-do list and things like that. Yeah, with your scheduled break too, that's also when at lunch or, coffee break or whenever it's going to be, that's when you reconnect with the digital world. That's where you check your email, social media, text to see if anybody's contacted you. So you're only out of touch for a couple of hours at a time, but it's key that you are out of touch for that couple of hours to have that full focus so that your focus is not being interrupted. So sometimes you get an assignment. Maybe you start school in September, and you're told, okay, well, here's an assignment. It's going to be due in 6 weeks. So of course, we go, 6 weeks, lots of time to get it done. We promptly shelve the assignment and forget about it until, oh crap, that assignment's due this week. And suddenly we're scrambling and trying to get everything done, trying to find the research and pull everything together. So instead, if you've got a longer term assignment, something due in 4 to 6 weeks, set aside a block of time each week to work on those assignments until done. So this reduces stress because you've already started the assignment. Every week you spend an hour on it. So suddenly when it comes up to be due in a week, you've maybe only got an hour left in the assignment, or maybe you're done. You might be done by then, but you've only got an hour or two left if you're not quite finished. So this reduces a lot of stress and gives you the time to do a better job. So a lot of people say, oh, I do my best work under pressure. It's not true. What happens is the pressure finally forced you to get off your butt and do the work. It doesn't mean it's your best work in this case. So it's important that you have that time to do the best job possible. The other benefit, and I talked about your mental back burner, but this lets your mental back burner work. So when you've worked an assignment last week and it's coming up this week, you start thinking about it and you go, oh, I could add this and this, or I could do a section on that, or I could work in this concept. So suddenly your mental back burner is doing a lot of extra work for you, and it will create a much better quality output, whether it's your thesis or an essay or whatever assignment you have to do. It will be a lot better quality if you're giving your mental back burner time to work. So let's talk about a few ways to learn better. So how do you learn better? Like in school, it was easy. I could just listen to the teacher. Teachers kind of made sure you were taken care of. Once you go to university or college, it's just too many students. They can't spend a lot of individual time with each one. So basically it's like a lecture format, and suddenly you have to learn, and all those study skills you didn't learn in high school, you need them now. So let's talk about how do you learn? So one of the key things, as I mentioned, is turn off your notifications. Turn your notifications off on your phone, your computer, while you're studying, while you're learning, or while you're in a lecture, to make sure that you've got the focus. You don't want to be reading texts while the professor is lecturing, because you're not listening to the lecture. You're not learning the material. And be fully present, be there, do this mental reset to make sure that you're fully there. This is this class. Stop thinking about the other class. Stop thinking about the party you're going to in the weekend. Stop thinking about the cute girl or guy you think you might like to ask out, and don't sleep during class. Be fully there, be present, be awake, alert, and ready to learn. Ask questions as well. Things aren't making sense, or you feel like you need more information, ask questions. Might not always work in a really busy lecture setting. You don't want to be, the one person asking all these questions and delaying the lecture or something. But you can also ask your the teaching assistant or your professor for additional time with them, during their office hours. You can come by and ask questions about things that you're struggling with or not making sense of. Also ask questions of a peer network, form a study group with friends, check with them and see if you can get help. Or there's often a lot of online tutoring as well that you can access that will help, or look for videos online that might explain something a little bit simpler for you. I find YouTube is fantastic. There's a how-to video on pretty well everything. So if you're struggling in your history class with a concept, go and look for YouTube videos on that history concept, and chances are, having 2 or 3 different ways of looking at it will help you learn better. Handwritten notes have been proven to help you retain information better. Just the movement associated with a pen and your hand helps you encode and retain information. I don't take handwritten notes myself, even though I do understand how this works, because my handwriting is so horrible. I often can't read my notes later. So I prefer to take my notes on a smartphone or a tablet or a laptop or something like that. But certainly handwritten notes can help you retain information better. And I'm a real fan of mind mapping for note taking. When I do my time management coaching, all of my coaching notes are taken in a mind map. It's really easy for me to jump around to things. A mind map, for those of you who aren't familiar, has a central concept and then all these different sub-levels, and then sub-levels after that. You can add notes, you can add graphics, you can add pictures. It's a great way to learn, a great way to build presentations. The cool thing too is you can close or open the branches on each of these, so you can narrowly focus on just one area. The one I use is a free version called Xmind, xmind.net. I think version 8 is free. There's paid versions as well. There's also ones available for your smartphones and other tools as well. For me, if I'm reading a book and I have to apply the principles, like I have to use what I've learned. So I'm not reading this book just to pass the course or an assignment. I actually have to apply it. I mind map the book, and that creates almost like a checklist, a step 1, a step 2, a step 3, because books are not often set up that way. So by doing that, it allows me to create a step-by-step approach to using the material. Another cool note program I've been playing with is one called RemNotes. And RemNotes is a great note-taking program, but what it lets you do is it lets you generate your own flashcards. So you can, for studying, you can create flashcards. You could do this yourself or with a study group. And then that way you can work through the flashcards and be able to study that way. It takes normal notes as well, works great. You can have notes and subnotes and sub texts and everything else. And it also lets you add a lot of tagging and things like that. So it's a good one to look at. When you've learned something new, you want to review it quickly within 24 hours, because reviewing that information, again, moves it into your long-term memory. You ever done something, learned something new, and then 6 months later, you can't even remember how to do it? Like, you've done this before, but you haven't done it enough. And that's why when you've got a new skill, you need to practice it like every day or every week, and it gets better. If you practiced the guitar once 6 months ago, it's almost like starting all over again 6 months later. Practice the guitar every day, it's going to be there. So take that new information and review it within 24 hours so that it's going to be moved into your long-term memory. Work with to-do lists or to-do apps, so you know all of your upcoming assignments, you know when they're scheduled, you know what it is you have to work on, so that when you work on a certain area, you say, okay, I'm going to work on the mathematics now. You should have a list of your mathematics to do, what assignments are due, what do you have to do for that. For social studies or English, same thing. What is it you have to work on in these particular areas? And that way, and your to-do list should be set up by priority sequence and by due dates. So you always know what's coming up. You always know the next most important thing to work on. Sharing what you learn with other people helps you remember. So if you're chatting about, about it with your friends or get us together with a study group, it really helps you remember the information. One of the reasons I teach time management is I learned long ago that to truly master any topic, you need to teach it as well. So part of teaching was just natural. I would teach my coworkers, but I found that by reorganizing the information that I had to be able to teach it to somebody else at a basic level, it helped me understand better. So by doing that, by providing an overview of what you've been studying, by talking it aloud to a friend or a family member, that will help you remember. Hopefully it's an interesting enough topic you won't bore your families or friends or your date. So you might not want to get too deep into something if it's not something you're interested in. This is where a study group of your peers can help other people in the same course. And schedule study dates with this group. Meet with your friends for study dates. Again, cafe, library, or somebody's house. Again, be mindful. You stay focused. Maybe say, okay, 5 minutes social chat, get it out of the way. Okay, now we're studying, or social chats at the end, or we're going to study for 1 hour, no social stuff. And then at the end of an hour, we're going for a brew or something, or we're going to have tea or whatever it is. So that way you get the studying done first, and then you have a great time to be able to chat with your friends and catch up with them otherwise. Again, during a pandemic, safety first and things like this might be more difficult. You might have to do it with Zoom or Google Meet or something like that online, but there's still ways to be able to do this. And again, just talking it over with your fellow students, talking it over with people helps you remember, and helps you understand better, because it's not just a long lecture from a professor, it's your friends asking questions and talking and sharing with you as well. If you have any transit time, you're taking a subway or a bus or anything else, or a cab to get to school or back and forth or to get to your work, review notes instead of browsing on your phone, listen to podcasts that will help you learn. It's just a great way to use the time, to be reviewing notes, time that would have been wasted otherwise. Start keeping a list of what you did, what you worked on, what worked today, what didn't. We often don't analyze what we're doing in a day to see, is what we're doing effective? And so write down what happened. Well, I tried to study, but this happened. I got a phone call from so-and-so. So what's the answer? Well, the answer is the phone should have been turned off. So there's some examples there that will help you learn and help you do that. And many people think I'm not interrupted that often. And I would suggest you track your time. There's a lot of time tracking type software like Clockify or Toggle that are free. And if you use these tools, you will be amazed at how often you are interrupted and how often you stray off task. And that's where I find just setting that timer on my phone or a kitchen timer helps keep me focused, because it continually tells me what I'm supposed to be working on instead of looking at funny cat videos on the internet, or instead of looking at people dropping things from high altitude to see what happens, or unusual things. They might be interesting, but it's not to be done during study time. Now, there's also another interesting rule in time management called the 2-minute rule. It says if you have a small task that takes less than 2 minutes, do it now instead of diarizing it for later, because the amount of time you would spend adding it to your to-do list could be spent just doing the item. Now, be cautious with this, because suddenly if the 2 minutes runs into 5 or 10, then that is cutting into your study time. So, but look at if a task is legitimately 2 minutes, just do it now, get it out of the way, and you can move through it. But if it starts to, you realize it's going to take longer, then add it to your to-do list. And you want to be realistic. Too often we've got like, okay, I haven't managed to focus all week, but today I'm going to focus for 10 hours on this topic. You're going to burn yourself out. And then you've set up these unrealistic, pie in the sky goals. And when you fail, you feel like a total failure. Instead, I'm going to work on this for 30 minutes. Set a realistic goal. I'm going to work on this for 30 minutes, then try to set another 30 minutes. And I'm going to continue until I'm, can't focus anymore, but at least you got 2 30-minute blocks out of it. That helps there if it's an attainable goal. Or say, I'm going to work for 1 hour on that assignment that's still not due for 4 weeks, but I'm going to work on that for 1 hour today. And you see, notice these are about systems, not getting something done. I'm not saying I'm going to finish that assignment today or finish that essay today. Instead, I'm going to write it for an hour, because the system is what gets it done. Whereas if you set the goal of being finished, you may not be able to get finished, but if you set aside an hour a day to do it, it's going to get done really quickly, as long as you can spend that dedicated hour. We talked about this a bit, but try changing up your study location. If you find you focus good for a while, but suddenly you're just no longer focusing, again, try to, library, cafe, restaurant, park, garden, try changing it up. If you're, find out what works best for you for focusing. I'm fortunate, I do work from home. I'm able to focus from home, but for many people that doesn't work, especially if you're going to school, but you have kids at home, that might be really tough to focus. So instead, use the college library, university library, or cafe. And again, somewhere where you can focus. And some people just find that they are able to focus better that way than, no matter how comfortable of a workspace they make it at home or in their bedroom, they just find they can't seem to focus. So find the spots that work for you. Stay motivated. What inspires you? Find something that inspires you and use that as a reward. When you do get discouraged and frustrated, take a short break. But again, don't use that as an excuse to never do anything. So think of what motivates you. And reward yourself. Say, okay, if I finish that assignment this week, which should take me 4 hours, when I finish that assignment, I'm going to treat myself to X, at my favorite shop or something, or, something like that. Or I'm going to treat myself by going out for a massage or whatever it is that would feel like a real treat for you. Don't forget to eat well. Eating healthy helps a lot. I would find when I would eat my big greasy hamburger lunch with fries, I would find I'd be really logy in the afternoon, couldn't focus, couldn't study. So now I find I just have a very set lunch, which I do is usually homemade soup, half a sandwich, and part of a piece of fruit. And I find that lighter really helps. Take my 20-minute walk and I'm back and ready and I'm energized to work. Like when I come back after my lunch, I'm energized to focus. I'm energized to get things done. And it used to be I'd come back and I'd go, oh, I don't feel like doing any of this stuff. So that really helped a lot. And of course, lots of fluids, drinking water, stay hydrated. Energy drinks are, I know many people, students live off them. They really hurt your body in the long run, especially. And usually they pump you up for a bit and then you get a big caffeine drop. Like I used to drink a lot of coffee in the morning and then 2 or 3 in the afternoon. No matter how much extra coffee I drank, I couldn't keep going. I just, my head would be knocking on the desk. So I switched to decaf coffee. So I don't do caffeinated drinks anymore. The funny thing is my body's so used to that jolt of caffeine in the morning that when I, take a sip of my cup of coffee, it still seems to give me an energy jolt, even though there's no caffeine in the coffee. So don't get too addicted to the, caffeine drinks or overuse them, because they can definitely have long-term impact. Get enough sleep, go to bed early enough, sleep in as long as you can, try to get that. The problem is, especially in high school, is kids need more sleep than usually what they're getting in university. It kind of leads into that. Take naps if need be. I am a firm believer in naps. I'm at an age where I take regular naps, but if you need a nap, I usually only take a 45 to an hour nap, but when I go back, I'm able to work fully, like I'm able to fully engage again. Whereas up to that point, I was just plodding and trying to force myself through things. We talked a bit about exercise, getting out. First off, getting outside gives you fresh air, connection to nature, especially, usually there's trees or things outside, especially if you're near a park. But regular exercise, boosts your memory, brain function, gives you chance for your mental back burner to work, gets you away from the study, lets you able to think about other things, something you can do with friends. So it can be social as well. So definitely exercise regularly. I know it might be tougher to go to your favorite fitness center or gym during a pandemic, but there's exercise you can do at home, and a walk. It's easy to social distance while you go for a walk. Take time to reflect, look at what's going well and what you could improve on. I posted a YouTube video one time, and I think within a week it had 85 likes, like people loved it, and 2 people didn't like it. And I'm going, well, what was wrong with that video? Why didn't people like it? So I focused on the 2 people who did not like the video instead of the 85 people who loved it. So, we often beat ourselves up about things we've done wrong, things we didn't do, things we didn't accomplish, and we forget what we have accomplished, what worked. And so it's important to do that. Excuse me. Meditation can be a real help for focus. Practicing your deep breathing, 2-3 times a day, practice deep breathing exercises. Breathe in through your nose, count to 4, feel the breath in your stomach, hold your breath for a count of 7 and blow out your mouth for a count of 8, for example. But, basically it's breathing like a baby does. You ever watched a baby breathe? They breathe from their belly. So you want to breathe from the belly, hold your breath for a bit and breathe out very slowly. And you'll find this very calming. And even taking a few of these deep breaths just before you're going to study, it helps you refocus. It helps you reset. It brings you into the moment so that you're there, fully present. Try that just before a lecture. Sit down, take a few deep breaths before the lecture to put you in a mindset to be open to what you're going to learn. And do take time off from studying. It doesn't have to be a vacation necessarily, but do take full time away. I mean, this means where your brain's not going to focus on the studying, doing things with your friends, having hobbies that are interesting. Like I do hobbies like photography and stargazing and working with wood art, and some people do knitting, it doesn't matter what it is, but just something to get your mind away from the studying. And then when you come back, your mind is fresher. I had a problem where I had a major difficulty with some clients I was hosting a website for one time, and I could not solve the problem. It was a Friday afternoon, and I finally just had to take a break from it. So I started cleaning. Now I know what you're saying, Garland, cleaning's not a break, but it was a break from that kind of mental focus I was doing. So I cranked up the tunes. And by the way, when you're cleaning or doing something physical like exercise, that's the time to crank up your favorite tunes, the ones that get you hopping, because that keeps you exercising longer, keeps you cleaning longer. That's where that music is good for. And during that time I was cleaning, suddenly it realized what I was doing wrong in the hosting, what the major problem was. And I went back and solved the problem in 15 minutes. So again, that's the mental back burner, and taking the time off did that by doing that. Any questions, comments, thoughts?
Been pretty good so far. Good refresher for a lot of things for me.
Great. Anything particular resonate with you or something you've been missing?
Just taking those breaks once in a while and, letting it go. And sometimes you need to refocus and then come back at it a different direction.
Yeah, and often the problems are solvable from a different direction that we just didn't see. And I've done that many times. I mean, you're hitting your head against the brick wall and suddenly you find a door once you take a bit of a break. So some of my other resources, if you want to have a look, my book, Stop Wasting Time. I have an online course called Time Management Step by Step. I currently am mentoring people who want to become virtual assistants and work from home. And of course, I do one-on-one coaching. So my book is called Stop Wasting Time and Procrastination in 5 Weeks with Proven Productivity Techniques. It's an Amazon bestseller, so you can find it on Amazon. You can order it in print format or in ebook format. Both of those will work. I have an online course that has over 90 training videos. It's called Time Management Step by Step. The course is normally about $97, I believe, but I'm currently offering it at $45 off. And the email you will get in a few days when I get this video up, so I'll send a link to the video. We'll also have a link to the online course as well. As I mentioned, I am currently mentoring virtual assistants through a program called vamentors.com. So what happens is it's got over 160 training videos, checklists, templates for people who want to learn how to be a virtual assistant and can work from anywhere in the world. So a virtual assistant, for those of you who aren't that familiar, is think of it like an office worker or an office assistant, except they just work virtually. They work from their own home. So it might be someone who can do your social media for you, somebody who can set up websites for you, somebody who can write articles for you, someone who can do internet research for you. There's tons of people for this. I thought it might be of interest, particularly to students, of course, because students can work part-time as virtual assistants, and it can be a way to get money for school. I do new videos in the program every month, and I give my virtual assistants help and feedback. So if they say to me, well, Garland, I'd like to apply for this job, here's my cover letter, what do you think? Then what I do is I'll look at the job, look at the cover letter and say, okay, well, the cover letter is pretty good, but you could add these things that you've done that would also show specifically that for that job that you've got these kinds of experiences, and I would add this portfolio and things like that. So I work with them on an individual basis as well.
Do you post any jobs, or do you have anything available that connects both the mentee and the potential client?
Yes. So what happens is I have what we call a curated jobs list. So I have some of my virtual assistants go out on the web, and we find jobs that we feel are good for virtual assistants, not the like $3 an hour overseas, people trying to pay nothing jobs. But yes, so if you have a job you'd like to post or something, let me know. But yes, in the program, every week we add new jobs that we've gone out and found for people that we've pulled from various sites that we feel are a better quality than what you're liable to find on your own. And I do connect people. One of the reasons why I set up the VA Mentors program is, so what would happen is, first off, I use virtual assistants myself. It lets me get a lot more work done than what I could otherwise do. And I also coach people. I do time management coaching. So what would happen is I'd be chatting with one of my clients. I'd say, a virtual assistant could do these things for you. And then my client would look at me with puppy dog eyes and say, well, yes, do you know a good one? So I'd end up giving them my virtual assistants. And then suddenly my virtual assistants have all these clients. They're kind of full, and I need to start training a new one. So I thought, well, if I'm going to train all these new virtual assistants anyway, I might as well put the videos together into a curriculum and develop it and have a steady stream of people coming through, so that I never have to be without a virtual assistant for myself again, and so that I can always refer them to my clients. So yeah, I have virtual assistants that I'm continually mentoring and testing and giving them test assignments, and they're continually learning. And the cool thing too is, if I've got a virtual assistant in my program who has a client say, oh, could you, for example, set up an email newsletter for us? She can say, sure, I can do that. And then she may not know how yet, but she can then go to the training videos I've got on that and learn. So that's what my program does, is it provides them with the training videos on how to do all the things that they would need to do for a client. I also do one-on-one coaching through Zoom, through much like this. And I offer, people buy a block of hours and then use them as needed. And I'm currently, during the pandemic, offering $75 off one-on-one coaching. And again, the link will be there for that as well, if you have a need of one-on-one coaching or would like some more information on that. And of course, as always, if you need any other help, you can visit captaintime.com. Any other questions?
Not at this time.
Great. Well, that's really all I have. We are at the end of the presentation. As I said, I will have a recording. So if any of you have know any students who could benefit from this, the recording will be up in a few days, and I will be sending an email out to my list that, with the recording and with the links that I've shown here as well.